And we're live.
Very nice, very nice. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the very first positive pit stop. How very lovely. Aim of the game for us was just to get everybody together, really, and speak about mental health and well-being and everything that needs talking about, really. So we're obviously going to hopefully have loads of different guests and interesting people to speak to. And the look on Ash Sutton's face is just an absolute picture as loads of different people join, which is amazing. But Tony, Jameson-Allen, who is a good friend of mine, he is just going to tell us quickly what it is about a bit more and in depth, aren't you, Captain?
I am indeed. Cheers, Paul. So what the Positive Pit Stop's all about? Well, over the next few weeks, we're going to hear from a wide range of guests from the world of sport and entertainment. We'll be asking them about the plans for the year ahead. We'll take a look back at some of their career highlights. And hopefully on each show, we'll explore with those stars and with you, the Positive Pit Stop crew, aspects of mental health as well. So how do you look after your mind as well as your body? How to remain motivated and driven, and hopefully through having a bit of fun and laughs as well, because we're going to try and keep this as informal as possible. Learning from one another, we might pick up a few top tips on keeping well, and also think about what to do if things start to get on top of you in any way. Paul.
Wicked. Nice one. Do you know what's really funny about this, just before I say the next bit? Tony, I didn't realise I was going to see everybody else. It's strange. I'm waiting for some. I'm waiting for some horrendousness to be going on in the background. I'm actually just looking over my shoulder because you never know what's going to happen behind me in this house, especially in lockdown. Anyway, grow up, you little sniggerers. But yeah, I think it's a great thing that Tony come up with. He come to me with it and said, "What do you think?" And I was fully on board, and it's great that you can obviously all see we've got Ash Sutton in tonight, and that's the reason all you guys are here, which is fantastic. I'm going to say a couple of things. One, Ash is probably the most difficult person to get hold of because he's so busy, and I know he's laughing, but I know he's been really, really busy today. But also with Ash, if he gives you his word, he will do everything he can to do it. So, you know, thanks for coming on, Ash, because you're a proper star, mate. There's not many double champions I know that would come and do this play. So, you know, it's a great thing.
Is he a double champion, is he?
Mate, yeah, but it was like 1980, so it doesn't count. There was probably all different categories then when he did that.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But yeah, no, you rang me, what, 4 minutes prior to this? So are you still on? Yeah, I'm there and running around trying to sort out, turn the laptop on. So, yeah,
I seen that you hadn't read the WhatsApp, so I was like, oh. I knew you were busy because you just moved house. You've obviously got your sim business as well. You've been doing a lot of coaching even in lockdown. But before I start asking you just a couple of questions, me and Tony will ask you some things, and you know, we want it to be light-hearted, but we want everybody else to be involved with this because there should be a little part at the bottom of the screen that you can actually join in and ask something on the chat, and we can invite you in, and you can ask Ash that question, or you can ask me or Tony those questions as well. So that's how we're going to try and go about it, if it's okay. The big shiny thing on the top of my head is actually my halo. Nothing to do with me being massively bald, is it, Ash?
Well, yeah, you brought it up, not me, so it saved me cutting that one.
Yeah, thanks, mate. The last thing to say, we've got a Facebook page as well, the Positive Pit Stop, so we'll put everything that we've recorded on here and put it on there, and we can have a little chat as well to see what all you fans want and everybody that wants to watch it. But it is something that, as I say, Tony come up with, about, you know, mental health and well-being and everything like that. Something that's obviously missed out, and especially in lockdown, it is a difficult one, isn't it? Anyway, right, Ash Sutton, where have you been today? Tell me what's going on. Lively.
So I am currently at home in a new place. We've got some home improvement, shall we say, going on in the kitchen. So I've been absolutely manic. My old man's been here doing a lot of it with me, but other than that, we are just snowed under with the simulator stuff. Obviously, everyone's stuck at home, can't get on the track, and loving life in terms of their sims. So we've got a nice little backlog of them, and so we're flat out day to day.
How do you? I've heard some really good things about your Sims. A lot of
They're all
people.
lies. They're all lies.
I've heard that. I've heard they're extortionate, mate. Even
Your price.
even your sponsors like Simon Needham at Crouch Needham. I think you've proper had him off for about 10 grand, haven't you?
He just wanted to go full out with the full motion. He's a nightmare. And you should see him on it. He's more dangerous than I am.
Mate, it's interesting that you say about. I was going to ask you about today. Have you been at Brands Hatch today?
I was meant to be at Brands, but what was it? Last Saturday, I had a little operation on my foot.
Oh,
and
okay.
it started to play up today, or last night. So I actually bailed on doing some coaching at Brands. So yeah, I've been getting stuck into the home improvement, should we say? So yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Jesus. Yeah, you just moved house. You were telling us, I was speaking to you about it the other day. But the thing I was going to ask you about actually was the kids who are involved. Your coach, you're one of the better coaches on the circuit. There's quite a few of you now. I mean, I'm an RJ instructor as well, but I don't do too much. Have you seen anything different in how the kids have tolerated this lockdown? I know it might be a bit different if you're a driver because they're classed as elite, aren't they? So they can actually go out even if they're 14 and they can go to a circuit and jump in a car with you and learn their trade, so to speak.
Yeah, I think for any kid, it's a very, very tough time. A lot of kids rely on their friends, school friends, and stuff like that. So to suddenly isolate them away from that is quite hard. Where obviously when you're involved in a team, for example, the Janetta team, our racing that I work for, we had them out Monday and there was 9 drivers. So you almost have your friends at school and in your local town and your friends from racing. So I think it's very good for them to still have that sort of interaction with people in person and be able to sort of live a semi-normal life, should we say.
Yeah. And have the parents ever said anything to you about, how a certain person is, or, is there any difference? Is there any difference in what's going on at the minute for them, do you think? Or are they just getting on with it? Are they quite resilient kids? Because I don't have any kids and I know you haven't either, but we do have to work with these teenagers and they can be quite interesting, can't they, with what they see and how the COVID situation affects them.
Yeah, and so every kid's different that I've worked with. Like, bear in mind, we were working with 9 of them on Monday, and they're all individuals at the end of the day, and everyone handles the situation different. I know some of them are actually from outside of the UK, so they have to completely think about flights over here, obviously 10-day lockdowns when they land, etc., etc. So I know every scenario is really different, and you speak to the parents and they're trying to manage that, especially if there's multiple children within the family and their siblings. They're trying to juggle all of that. Everyone's at home, everyone's working from home. So it's a real tough time. So to get out of the house and be able to do, should we say, the test days and crack on with what they do as a hobby is a good thing. I think it's just you still get that buzz of normal life.
Yeah, and can I just ask you as well? It's something I wasn't going to ask you, but I will. As a double champion of British touring cars, and especially someone who's at the top of their game, why do you risk your life sat in a car with a kid who's learning to drive? And that is something that I ask myself sometimes because I have to do it, but I want to hear your take on it.
I get an enjoyment of seeing progression, and to sit back at the end of the day and look at the lap times, the data, etc., and see the improvement that one individual has made is fantastic. And to then roll that into another day, and to then see him stand on the podium and potentially win races, to know that you were a part of that and you assisted in them getting to that point of their career is fantastic. And that's what I thrive off. As much as I'm a bit of adrenaline junkie when it comes to going through the gravel track sideways, should we say, or scaring yourself heading towards the wall. But you got it. Donington rings a bell there, Paul. I think for me, it's just seeing that progression and being a big part of helping them deliver what they want to do. Because you get these kids who are hungry, especially ones that have come from karting. They know what they want. They know what they're capable of achieving. So to unlock their potential and help them maximise their performance, and for the parents to see them do that. At the end of the day, to see them go away from that circuit with a smile on their face, knowing it was all worth every penny they spent.
And do you think that the parents probably want, I was only thinking this when I was riding my bike before, do you think that the parents would rather have you over somebody that's maybe only won a couple of touring car races but's quite funny? Would they rather have you because no, you know, I'm joking about that, but they would rather have you instead of other people because you're a champion and they want their kids to probably just try and, you know, extract all they can out of you. And are you willing to give that information over, or is that not enough for your day rate?
The way I look at that, I think there are some parents out there that potentially look at what I've gone and achieved in my career, how I've gone about it and things like that, and they like that, so they would prefer someone like me. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with, should we say, their kids, so there's got to be that connection in terms of they've got to like you, you've got to like them. It's got to flow, it's got to work. So if the basics aren't there, then there is no platform to build on. But I think it does play a big part of, it's a proven product. What I like to think I can teach, I can do on track myself, and I know it works. So in terms of, do I hold back in anything? I'd say no, because even now, even if we look back at last year where I was helping Aidan, to have him push me on, it plays a big part of my own self-learning. So to potentially have that young driver, I could be racing against them in 5 years' time if they got to touring cars. I know their tricks of the trade. So as much as I help them, I know what they're up to. I'm the one teaching them tricks.
Okay, so that's quite interesting, because I remember there's a great picture of you with Jason Plato when you don't look any different, to be fair, because you look about 11 now. But you met him when you were really young, didn't you? So, you know, I think you might have said to him, I'll be racing against you hopefully one day. I bet Jason now wishes he put his drink down and really got to know you, didn't he?
You know, so 2007, so it was Ultrasport Awards 2008, because it's normally January. So the 2007 season, we're all celebrating. I just won my British Karting Championship. Jason was there, obviously, off the touring car thing. And at that point, I decided there was Lewis Hamilton and Jason Plato. And I looked at Jason as like, that's what I want to go and achieve in life. And I actually sat there and said, one day you'll let me have a go and you'll see at Lyon, because that's what he was racing at the time. And he went, oh, when you're older, kid, like as he does.
Yeah,
and you know, I was his teammate X amount of years later, or 10 years later.
It's absolutely crazy, mate, and I love that. And I did see that someone in the Jeff Army had posted a picture of you, and it said something like, come back to me, Jason, come back to me, Ash, when you've won the second championship. And it said something like, something about the traffic was really bad, sorry. And you
it was that picture from Snet after we had that thing on track, and I'm in his face a little bit.
One of the best photos I've ever seen in British touring. I absolutely love that. Just a couple of questions on you, Ash. So last year you obviously won the championship. Amazing. I couldn't actually see as a pundit that car would win it for you. But when you turned up at Donington, we've had this chat before, I was amazed at where you were, and I thought, you just can't, you can't put you outside of that championship circle, where you were, who you are, and what you can do with your engineer. So I thought you were, you'd give it a good go, but I did have the BMWs down as being just too good and too much money being spent there. But can you tell us now that championship season's finished and you're focusing on the new one, was there any particular race where you thought, I've got this one, it's mine, and I can only lose it? Is there anything in particular, or any races or any situations you thought, right, I think we're in here?
Like when we rolled the car out at Donington, obviously with the pace it had, straight away you get this hunger that, right, this is like a good opportunity here. Like you could potentially have that second title to your name. The package is there. Bear in mind, we've done 2 sessions and we're going into qualifying with that mindset already. But throughout the year, you go through so many peaks and troughs of good results, bad results. But the one for me that stood out was the Silverstone race 3, where we started stone cold last and stormed all the way through to second. that at that point, I was like, if I'm gonna lose this championship, it's gonna be down to me and sitting states. We had everything there. We had the engineering team, the car delivering the performance we needed. A bit of lady luck on our side, as we need that in British touring cars. There's all of the eggs were aligning, or the stars were aligning, sorry, and I was the last piece of that puzzle. And if I made a mistake, it was mine to lose. That's the way I looked at it, and I got that kind of sense after that last race at Silverstone.
That's interesting, because I don't think you're a person who ever really gives your thoughts away, to be honest, so I do appreciate you answering that pretty honestly, mate. So I think that's a great answer for a lot of people who will be listening into that. Last question from me before we just take one from the floor, mate. Was the second championship any easier to win than the first? Because they had two different things going on there, didn't they?
Yeah, I would say the second one was harder. It was definitely harder. With your first one, you're not expected to go and win. If you do it, fantastic job. Second time round, they know you're capable of winning it. So there is that added pressure. We're obviously in a much different situation in terms of an independent team going up against a factory team or manufacturer team. So I felt there was a hell of a lot more pressure second time round for sure.
Okay, mate. Appreciate that. I didn't think that would be the answer I'd get either. Tony, have we got anyone from the floor, mate? I did see some questions popping up. Do you know what I really love about this, by the way? I just love seeing everyone's faces. It's a bit concerning, but at the same time, I like it. It's really good. So what's the sketch, Lid?
Right, so why don't we go to Sarah Dennis? And Sarah, I'm going to unmute your microphone, hopefully.
Hi.
You can ask.
Hi.
Yeah, got a couple of questions. Obviously, I've just started on a journey with my trainer, who's on here, funny enough, with positive mind training for racing. But something we have noticed is drivers don't, for one, seem to sort of admit they do any mental training. Why do you think that is?
A sign of weakness. I would say that people would look at that as potentially a sign of weakness, so they don't want their, should we say, rivals to pick up on things like that, where actually I wouldn't class it as a sign of weakness, no.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And do you think a positive attitude racing will be the difference between winning a race and coming last?
You have to go in with an open mind, I think is the right way of putting it, rather than a positive one. It's, especially in every category is different. The way I look at it is, if, for example, British touring cars, it can change so quickly with a punch or a car contact, something like that, corner by corner. If you go in focused on one thing, you potentially could come out with much worse, where you have to go in so open-minded with what the end result could be.
That's very true. And do you do anything before a race to sort of get mentally ready?
I personally keep myself to myself. Only want to talk to my engineer, my best mate, my girlfriend, just really sort of isolate myself down to a handful of people that kind of know me really well, to the point where they know if I want a bottle of water without me asking for that type of style. I don't want, shall we say, more of the team coming up to me and approach me, oh, how you feeling type of thing. I really do like isolating myself down.
Very interesting. I like it. Thank you, Sarah. Tony, are you going to harass Ash for some questions, or have you got anybody else, mate?
I'd love to harass Ash for questions.
Harass Ash.
Harass Ash on Ash Wednesday. That's too much. A few questions, particularly around sort of the mental sharpness. So you have a really intense season racing where you're having to focus on so many different things going on, but then deliver a fantastic race weekend, and there must be so much adrenaline flowing, and your mind must be going through so many different things, and then suddenly it's finished. You've won the championship, end of season. How do you unwind? But then how do you then start keeping yourself sharp for the coming season ahead?
I think obviously it's been a little bit different this year. In terms of unwinding, I like to spend it with friends. Sort of go back to, when I say normal life, go back to a race without life without racing. I think that's healthy for the mind to take yourself away from the situation, to regroup before you then get stuck back into it. But in terms of preparing for the next, like the following season, I normally start getting my mindset, chasing sponsors, etc., sort of around the December time. So if you look back at it, if we look back at, should we say, a normal calendar, it's not only gives yourself about a month to relax and digest what you've done. Obviously, Autosport's early January, so you can't leave it too long, because before you know it, deals are being done in the background, seats are being taken. So it is, for me personally, only a month at max during November.
And in terms of physical fitness, you know, we know good physical health leads to good mental health and brain sharpness. Do you have any particular physical training plan? Do you have a trainer? Do you do gym work?
At the minute, I'll be really honest with you. Last year I struggled. I haven't got guns like Paul O'Neill, unfortunately, so I'm still working on that. The old swans. But purely my only reason for not getting involved into the fitness side of things as much as I would like is down to business. Started up a new company and it just went from it grew so quick that it took every ounce of my spare time. So I had to weigh up potential business for the future to being in a gym, and I had to put the business first, as long as it didn't affect performance in the car.
Sure. And is that Sims that you?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So I suppose, you know, the rise of esports and all the sim racing during COVID, it must have been quite a baptism of fire of getting a company set up and everything around it.
Yeah, look, I started out just the later end of 2019, so before COVID happened. So the business was there, up and running, and it was functioning. But COVID just obviously massively assisted in the progression and the growth of that company, which, like I said, just really pulled my time away to making it work, which led to having to make sacrifices in other situations.
And do you do much sim work yourself ahead of the season?
Yeah, I sort of use my sim mainly for racecraft side of things. I think it's quite good because you're racing, should we say, sim drivers or esports drivers that are at the top of their game on the sim, and you don't know anything about them. So it is the hardest rival to race. I don't know what their pros and cons are as a driver. I don't know their weaknesses. So they really push me and push all my buttons, and I spend most of my time crashing. Yeah. But so he's doing it on the track.
we had a fantastic time at Autosport International. Jack Benyon arranged for us to have some space for the charity that I'm involved in, that Owie's a patron of. So we had 2 race sims set up to race around Brands Hatch. Mr. O'Neill's first on it, and he bins it in the gravel at the first corner.
To be fair, I saw him we did a sponsor day, and I saw him on our simulator that we had there that day, and that was probably just as horrific.
I'm the first person to ever been taken to hospital for a sim accident.
Oh dear.
I've got one last question for you, Ash, in this segment. I've helped out with the Team Hard Scholarship school a couple of times.
Don't admit to that, mate.
A very cold croft, special cold up there. And one thing I did notice, you know, it's normally a couple of months before the season, and drivers are just sort of starting to get back into physical shape. Everyone was eating chicken and rice. Are you the same? Do you have a diet?
I'm careful. I'm careful during the week. I like to think we eat healthy during the week. No one will take away my traditional Chinese Saturday. That will always be staying despite what type of sport I'm in, and I'll argue that till my death. So yeah, I normally weekends are my cheat day, shall we say? But I'm not honed in to the point where I'm counting calories. I'm just careful. I'm making sure that you are eating the right things and it's fresh and stuff like that.
Wait till you get to my age. You have to.
Start sitting on the hips and all sorts. April.
Right. You, Howie.
Okay, right, Ash. We said to you that we know time is of the essence, mate. Literally, you've just sat down. You're helping us out. You're helping everyone out on the Zoom call. So I'm going to level with you, lad. We're going to have a little quick fire round.
Yeah.
A few more questions. Little quick fire round. A little bit of fun, and then that's you done, mate. So I will, because I know I'm conscious of your time, mate, because you've been very good to us. So, are you ready? So this it's get to know the double champ, and we're going to do some quick fire questions, mate. So Martin Reardon from 29 Productions has done this, so he'll basically be ripping me to pieces. Right, okay, Ash, you ready?
Yeah, go on.
Favorite food?
Chinese.
Favorite drink?
Ooh, Captain Morgan's. We're talking alcohol, that is.
You absolute Tory. Favorite BTCC driver, past or present?
Josh Cook.
Josh Cook. Favorite ITV Motorsport pundit?
So not looking at the camera. To be fair, Paul, I'm actually going to say you, and it's not because you're here. You bring a different angle to it, so it's going to be you.
Thanks, mate. You all right? Oh, blondes or brunettes?
Blondes.
Ooh.
I'll be safe for that one.
Aiden or Bob Moffat?
Oh dear. Aiden, because he ain't going to fight me.
Or shoot you.
Yeah, or shoot me.
I'm recording that. Blur or Oasis?
Oh, I don't know. Can I pass? I'm going to pass.
Ooh. Spice Girls or Little Mix?
Just because it's you, Spice Girls.
Not going out or on the buses?
On the buses, because you take the piss out of me.
This is a personal favourite of mine. Paul O'Neill or Richard John Neal?
Paul, because I've known him longer.
Jade Edwards or Josh Cook?
Oh, Josh could have been a pal for years.
Love it. Perfect. Okay, mate. Just a few more questions and we'll crack on, do the last bit of the quiz, mate. Do you set yourself goals for specific parts of the season? Because there are different dynamics, isn't there, to each competition, I think.
Yeah, so start of the season, obviously going out for maximising points, results, wins, etc. Middle of the season, you still kind of got that on the back burner, but you're starting to focus towards the back end, starting to count them points and get the calculator out. But then last year was the first kind of year I really honed in on that latter phase of points after points after points.
Okay. Well, that's quite an interesting one because the next question, mate, obviously touring cars is flat out, it's high intensity, it's bish, bash, bosh. I think Dan Camish is the person I most relate this question to. It's how do you actually deal with the disappointment of the weekend? And is that the main priority and just let the wins look after themselves and the big point scorers?
You win your championships with your worst races. So when things aren't going the best they possibly can, or you're having a shocker of a weekend, keeping your head above the water, shall we say, and staying in the right mindset is what is real key, if I'm honest with you, on that.
Okay. And how much time are you going to spend with the team before you hit the road in May? Because time's pretty much going to be running out, isn't it, pretty soon? And when will you get behind the wheel again for a test?
I think most teams will be waiting. Obviously, I know unless you've jumped car or whether it's front wheel drive or all-wheel drive, if you're pretty static like I have been for the past couple of years where it's rear-wheel drive all the way through, we need to maximise our dry running to develop the car. So until that weather breaks through and we know we've got a good consistent few days, we probably won't get out in the car till, well, now it'll probably be April time because obviously season being delayed. But yeah, I don't think, other than obviously a lot of the teams are furloughed to some extent, all the employees, so that plays a part of going down. But obviously a good month prior to the season, I will be hard on it in terms of being at the factory, mixing it back in with the boys, but obviously COVID depending on all of that.
Yeah, of course, mate. Nice one. Right. Last little bit, fella. I like this one. This is a different little quiz. This is between you and Tony from the Positive Pit Stop. So get ready for this one. Right. First to shout out the right answer gets the point. Actually, I better.
Oh, God. I'm really bad at quizzes.
Mate, don't you worry. This one's
I should
amazing.
have gone to a few more with my nan or something.
Right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh.
How many top 10 finishes have I had?
12.
I'm going to aim high. No, I'm joking. 5. I'm joking. No, I'm winding you up.
Can you give me a proper answer?
40.
50.
97 top 10 finishes. Yeah, boy.
Hate that.
What's
Someone
that?
must have changed Wiki. Someone's Wikipedia.
I didn't even know I had 97 top 10. Apparently, just quickly, my graphic on British touring cars says Paul O'Neill, ITV Sport, 97 top 10 finishes. I was like, oh, devastated. Not 2 lucky race wins. There's 97 top 10
You
finishes.
would have preferred the lucky race wins, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Hey, you might be double champ, mate, but I'm not too sure you got 97 top 10 finishes. Right.
A couple of years.
No one won that one. And how many points did Ash get to win the 2020 title?
I didn't even know it myself. How bad is that? 300 and 400, 378. I don't know.
I'm going lower. I'm going 350.
He's got you, mate. What a nerd. 350 it was.
I just worry about beating second place. I don't worry about the points at the end.
I thought you said, I just worry about beating Senna. And I thought, that's easy. I'm totally kidding. Right, okay. How many poppadoms should you order in an Indian for 4 people?
2 each, ain't it? It's 8.
12.
You got to remember he's written this. So basically, Martin, when we go to with ITV, he gets a million. Basically, the answer's 60, and it's 4 each, no exceptions. We've proved it correct. We get them. You can eat 4 each. So next time you're at the Indian, ladies and gentlemen, get yourself involved. And finally, what is Jason Plato's first name? It's not a trick question. Danielle, are you looking on Wiki? Grow up.
Jason Plato's first name, did you say?
Yeah.
Is this like a trick question, Paul?
No. I'll give you the answer. It's actually Timothy Jason Plato, and Tim is his dad, isn't it?
Well, RB, you've actually caught me out there.
There you go. Everybody's a winner. Right, Ash, I know you've got to go. So, Tony, should we just get a couple more?
What was the score, Paul? What was the score?
I think I won that one. Anyway, definitely won that one. Have we got any more questions before we leave this lovely gentleman alone?
Let's go through just a quick couple. There's some fantastic questions come in. Right, from Tony Palmer. Ash, if you could choose a new track for BTCC to race in, which would it be? UK or abroad?
Zandvoort.
Oh, yeah, I like
Zandvoort.
Dangerous place.
What do you think of the grid this year?
I think it's really mixed up. It's going to be interesting.
And I'm scrolling through questions to try and find one last one. One last one. When a race doesn't go to plan and the question drops off your screen as you're about to ask it.
Sounds like one of my qualifying laps.
So we go to plan. How do you reset and refocus on the next race? Is that the one?
That's the one.
You have to put it behind you. But yeah, you have to put it behind you quite quickly. Obviously, touring car racing, 3 races a day. You Sykes race 1, for example. You 2 hours late and at a push, you're going to be back in the car. So if you're dwelling on race 1, you may as well not get in the car for race 2.
Awesome.
Unbelievable, Jeff. Tony, is that it?
That's it.
Top man. Ashley Sutton.
Thank
you so much, mate. You're a double champion. You're a double hero. I absolutely love you, mate. You have no right coming on this show, but you always say yes and you always try your best to get on it. We all appreciate you, mate. Even though you look pure weird, and I'll always be more handsome, and I'll have 97 top 10 finishes. Actually, need my haircut, but I still
No worries, Baldy.
like this tracky, by the way. My sister got it me. I think she got it me for free. She's hard work, she is. But Ash, you go and sort your life out, mate, and hope your leg gets better, or your knee, or your ankle, or whatever it is, or your haircut. But from everybody here, mate, thank you so much, mate. You're a top lad.
No, cheers. Thank you, guys.
Ash.
Well, thank you, Ash. Ladies and gents, just quickly, me and Tony are going to have a little chat now. Hopefully Ash disappears. We can talk about him and give him some proper grief. He's gone now. But yeah, we're just going to be on for a few more minutes. Tony, you were gonna say a few words, actually. You were going to ask people if they wanted to ask us stuff, I think. I might be joking.
What, you mean we scripted this?
No, I'm in purple.
No, I thought, that was great from Ash, getting all that time from him, double champ. What a way to start the whole show and the whole concept. We're going to try and talk a bit about mental health and the positivity around it. When we were talking about this idea, it was kind of, this lockdown in particular seems to have been really long and really tough for a lot of people. And we skirt around mental health a lot. There's loads of good campaigns around it, but sometimes it's just nice to actually talk openly about positive experiences and also some tougher stuff as well. So what we're going to try and do is develop the content on here, and we're going to try a few different things. And the scary bit now is we're kind of going to bring as many people who want to come on camera and on chat, and you can ask us anything you want to ask about the show, about your life.
No one wants to ask her about my life. Tony, can you give people a bit of your background just to help them out a bit? Because they're probably looking at us both going, who are these two middle-aged fellas? I mean, I know a lot of the faces here, so it's actually cool, but yeah, I mean, I've drove touring cars for ages and I was rubbish, and I now present on ITV Sport. But
97 top 10 finishes, though, apparently.
Yeah, boy, you're dead right. But yeah, you tell us about you, lad.
A little bit about me. Big sports fan. Apart from rugby and tennis, can't be doing with that at all. Love motorsport. Love touring cars. First met you probably at Croft Circuit, maybe. Many years ago, which is my local circuit, where I used to do rallying and sprints, but not anything serious like touring cars. But yeah, I spent quite a long time in my life as a psychiatric nurse, because I couldn't do anything else really. It seemed a good thing to do. Never set foot in a hospital in my life. Had an interview, why do you want to be a nurse? I've no idea was my answer, but I just did it, loved it, and ended up working with sort of national policy stuff, which was quite hilarious given that I have one A level to my name. But yeah, just I've worked in mental health. I love sport. Set up a charity 10 years ago, which Paul became a patron of, and probably one of the highlights of that for me was when I was killing a bit of time in London. I was just sat in the Cafe Nero opposite the BBC studios, and I spotted this female singer that was rehearsing with Jules Holland. I thought, hang on a minute, I think that's Paul O'Neill's sister, and went across. And obviously she was very busy, and I just said, any chance you could record a little video about your favourite sporting memory? And you didn't know that was happening, and I didn't know whether she'd have time. She said, oh, just give us your details and I'll record something once I've been in makeup. And you think, she's going to be busy, she might not do it. Anyway, on the train back home, my phone pings and there's a 2.5 minute video from Melanie C. absolutely ripping the piss out of her little brother, which was just a magical moment. Anything else in the charity, forget it. It was that was the top moment for me.
Yeah, that sounds about right, mate. Thanks for that. So then, Toe, shall we? Do you want to take? Is there any questions for us? I mean, we're not as handsome and as interesting as Ash Sutton, so if there isn't any, no problems, mate. You can let people
raise your hand up in the chat. You can.
I've just come on to check that Tony's eating some greens because I'm really worried about him.
Who's that? I can't see who's talking.
Do you want to just say who you are? Because we can't actually see on it who it was.
Sorry, Tony, it was me. It's Mr. Kerr. I'm just very, very backwards with my abilities on Zoom.
I was looking to see who was talking then, and it proper shocked me. I didn't know what it was.
Jesus, I'll turn my camera on. You'll see what bad air looks like. Hold on a second. There we go. Start video.
Oh, there he is.
Be afraid. I don't know what this bit's doing. How are we? Are we all right?
Oh, good. Thanks, mate. Yeah.
Super stuff. I'm loving what you guys are doing, by the way. Just joined late on. It was nice to see Ash doing his bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony, completely back everything you're doing, mate, here on the mental health side of things and the charity and motorsport and what have you. And, you know, absolutely spot on.
And of course, you ran the Great North Run with Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I cleared the path for him. You know, sort of saw off some of the more committed autograph hunters, that sort of thing. So it was a public service.
No one recognised me, mate. Don't worry. They're
all after the rider, weren't they? Yeah.
They're after the rider. Yeah. Jeez. So, have you got a question for us, Captain?
Well, not really. I just think, you know, happy to get involved. You know, if I can't compete with Ash, but you know, if somebody wants to hear the background of somebody who's been in motorsport for 20 years, or albeit in the shallow end, then you know, Tony, I'm here, mate. I'd be more than happy to help you guys out.
Awesome.
I'll secondly help out as well. If anyone wants any help, I think it's a great idea, sort of raising mental health in racing and out of racing. So happily promote it, help as well.
Yeah, that's wicked. That's more than we expected. I think, you know, on paper, this, you know, even though it's lockdown, myself and Tony, we get busy with things, but I thought it was a great idea. And I still think personally, and this is me talking about motorsport, there isn't much support out there for us, not for me now.
I agree.
But for sports people like yourself, Sarah, and Ash, who's talking there, who's to say that Ash, you know, can't race for some reason next year? And where's your head at then? I've been there. I had to pull out with diabetes, and I look back at it now. At the time, I thought, I'm fine. I'm 23. I'm sound. Don't worry about me. Just got a job at Palmer Sport in Bedford and worked and did whatever. But I look back, it's massively affected me. Like,
I agree with that. I mean, I've sort of on my personal journey, I quit for a while, and then I'm back racing again this year. But I'm racing for personal reasons because my poor dad's dying of cancer, and his last dying wish was get the race car out there. Literally last year I had 3 races cancelled. This year I've had 2 so far. It's looking, I won't make racing before he goes, unfortunately, but it's that mental health pressure and sort of getting there. It's like literally been a week to go before the race and it's cancelled. And that just has such a massive impact on how you try and get your head back in the game, get yourself mentally prepared to race again.
That's the thing I couldn't really imagine. And I mean, personally, Tony, just I hope that you're not thinking I'm just chatting myself all the time, but the one thing I remember to relate with that, Sarah, was every like, I raced in touring cars for quite a long time, but I only ever had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only ever had 5 full seasons, or really 4 proper full seasons, because the one full season was in Group B, or the B class cars. So the what I'm getting to is those 4 full seasons, I knew I was going to complete them. Those other seasons I competed in for that amount of time, I never knew until a Wednesday afternoon whether I was going to be driving or not, because the sponsor might, and that, you know what it's like as a club racer. I think there's more mental pressure on people,
Yeah.
because I have to pull in the big quid to go racing, but at the same time, when the snowball's rolling, you can usually get away with it, but club racing's different, and the effects that it has on people. I'm going to be speaking, hopefully, to the MSA with a friend of mine, Matt James, between us who are in there now. We're going to be trying to speak to the MSA and just see where people can go, because there ain't anywhere, man. And
on that, Paul, actually, if you're speaking to them, something that it raised my suspicion before, this happened a few years ago and it's happened again this year. Years ago, my license was declined because on it said, have you ever suffered from mental health issues? This was going back about 5 years ago. No, it was actually longer than that. It's about 8-9 years ago. And I put, yes, I had postnatal depression.
Yeah.
I then had to get the doctor to write into the MSA to prove that I was fit to race. And if you look at the license this year, it's actually got a status on there that says, have you ever suffered from mental health issues? I personally, I can understand why it's there. Don't think that should be a question that's asked, because in all honesty, when I suffered from postnatal depression, I deliberately didn't go and get help medically because I didn't want it to affect my race license. So I suffered with it for a year because I didn't want to lose my race license.
That is very, very interesting. And I think you're dead right. I've seen that question. My license, it takes a while to get mine because I have to get a covering letter from my doctor saying that Paul O'Neill's HbA1c is this, his cholesterol's that. I think he's okay to drive as a type 1 diabetic.
Yeah.
But it's a completely different ball game than what you're telling me about. You know, my issues, I just get on my bike and I just make sure I'm healthy and fit. But mentally, that is a really interesting question that they ask. And I'll tell you what, how many people are going to lie and not tick that box? Because
that's the problem.
I'll tell you one thing, between everyone in this room, I could tell you, out the people I know a lot of people in racing, I'll tell you 10 people that I wouldn't go in the passenger seat of a race car with, and some of them are high profile people, because I know that they've had issues in the past that they've not addressed. Do you see what I mean? It's a very, very interesting thing that is, and it's something that definitely, and Matt James, if you don't know Matt James, is the editor of Motorsport News. And as I say, we've never, but I just trust that you won't say anything to anyone about this, because I'll speak openly, you know, and this will be online and people will see it. But Matt's a really good guy, and it was a very valid question he asked. So I think it would be interesting to see what kind of backup we can get. And I think there might be a lot of motorsport people in general from British touring cars who might, you know, be able to step up and say, do you know what? I've had that journey. I can talk about it too. So there's definitely something to be had there, isn't there?
When you think, Paul and Sarah, you know, it's estimated 1 in 4 people will experience mental ill health during their lifetime. 25% of the population. That's an awful lot of people who are probably racing drivers who have avoided ticking that box for the very reason. So it's almost the wrong question to be asking in the first place. If it puts your license at risk, who's going to tick it?
Interesting that. Why do you think would you know, Tony, why they would maybe do something like that? I know that you're not, you know, on medical grounds, you could never say why this, that, and the other, but is there anything you think was the reason for that?
I mean, you know, it's such a broad brush question in the first instance, because there's so many different types of mental illness. You know, there are some conditions which may affect your judgment, which you could understand that you would need you know, medical clearance if you're on specific types of medication for, you know, you might be bipolar, you might have personality disorder, you might have a whole heap of different things going on, but that doesn't mean it can't be controlled. And it's no different to controlling your diabetes or what other physical health condition. If it's under control, it's under control. Because
on that as well, you've got prescribed, haven't you? I think there's something on the license that says, are you under any prescribed drugs? Which at that point you can put that there, which means I don't feel that question's appropriate.
So
about
that is interesting, that, because it's a strange one, isn't it? But I know from having my condition that probably a lot of, maybe 60% of the racing I did, my condition makes me feel quite anxious. And I know that is a term that can be broadly used, and I don't suffer with it, the extreme that some people suffer with it, but I still have a bit of it. And my condition can make me feel like that because I don't know whether I'm going low or not. And if I go low, I can't drive. And I've had it before where that has been a problem. So I just find that a very interesting point, because it's not a box I would tick either, even though looking back, I was in a bad place, man. I know some British touring car drivers from my era who were in bad place, and I mean bad places. And Tony, I've never spoke to Tony about this either. People I've had to ring, people that are on the grid now, where there's 3 or 4 of us that have had to ring a particular person, and they've raced in this era, and we've had to keep an eye on them, and we're a bit like, what? It's not really, I'm a person's friend, but I'm not a medical professional, so I can't, you know what I mean? So very interesting you brought that up, because that's something I can, I'll speak to Matt James about. But Tony, we're going to have you got any more questions, or are we going to tell people about we're going to try and do something next week, and then we'll try and Rob Marsh, actually, if anyone can see Rob, is he still there? So Rob had, he's gone now, when he's come back.
He's back.
He did have, I don't know if you've seen it, he had a picture of me on the back of the wall. And I don't know how you did it. Have you got a green screen, Rob? He's on mute. Leave him on mute, actually.
You hear me?
Here he is. This guy is going to brighten nobody's day up. How are you, Rob?
Well, that's nice on a chat like this. Yeah, I was trying to make it work. I had Lindsay behind me at one point, but I thought I'd choose you, and it just turned out to be you.
The infamous.
I'd rather it was me and you in the same picture. Otherwise, that's just unsettling. I get uncomfortable with serious stuff like this. I'd rather just be being an idiot. But I just wanted to say that and I spoke to you about Tony at one point. Would I say proud? I'm just glad to see him in a better position than he was a few months ago. It's really good to see, given because I think I'd said to you, I didn't know his background. I didn't know, where he come from to get to the position a few months ago without going into too much depth. But yeah, I felt like I had some kind of affinity with him for some reason. It just felt like something resonated. And to see where you've been, Tony, in the last few weeks, picking up as much as you have, is just really impressive. So keep going, man.
Say, and I'm not going to go into huge detail, but I will talk over the coming weeks and possibly months. Little bits about my journey, because I was in a very, very dark place, and it was only down to some really kind people who kind of kept me going. Certainly wasn't down to the mental health services, and I will occasionally rant about we all talk about it's okay to be not okay, and time to talk and time to change and raise awareness and loads of hashtags, but when it comes down to it, actually trying to access mental health services, that's pretty tricky, which was my first experience ever, having worked on the other side of things. The one time I did need them to be there for me, they weren't. So it's been an interesting 15 months, which I will probably talk about bits and bats during the shows. But there was a time when I didn't want to be here, and I tried not to be here last year. Whereas on the flip side, Valentine's Day on Sunday, my eldest daughter got engaged to the most fantastic lad who...
Not me.
Not you.
He said fantastic, lad, Ollie. He said fantastic.
Not you.
Carry on, mate.
Not you. And, young'uns get a bit of a bad press these days, but... there they are. There's Jazz and Harry. Bless him, Harry actually rang me a couple of days beforehand traditional style. Had to ring his scary father-in-law to be to say, "Do you mind me proposing to your daughter?" So obviously I grilled him on all his prospects and what he's going to do and whether he even bothered buying her a ring. And yeah, it was a 1920s platinum antique diamond ring. So how could I say no? So yeah, life's good now. Life's really, really good. And we want to share positive stories. That's part of what we want to do here. We want to get people on Facebook sharing good stuff, but also being able to say if things are going a bit crap at times, that we need a bit of help as well. So from my point, there's one little thing I want to flag up this week, because we're going to try and introduce some top tips and hear from you guys what you do and places that you may visit to help your mental health. So we're going to try and feature some useful resources each week for when things maybe aren't going quite so well with your mental health. Hopefully the Positive Pit Stop will be one place to go for just cheering up. But one place that's really good, it used to be called the Big White Wall. It's now been renamed Together All, and you can find it out at togetherall.com. And it's got over 50 million users across the globe. There's absolutely masses of features and information, top tips. And for the UK, there's actually access to online therapies via Together All, which is totally confidential. Just a brilliant resource. So check it out. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying it's an interesting place to go and see. And lastly from me tonight is a huge thanks to Paul for being so open to doing this, because as soon as we started discussing it, it was just like, you know what, the time's right, always wanted to do it, let's do it, let's see what happens. And hopefully, well, I've enjoyed tonight. I thought I'd be dead nervous, but actually I've really enjoyed it. And I thought I'd be running about trying to work the tech and not be able to listen to the conversation, but I've loved it. So thanks, Howie, for doing this, and I'll leave you to have the last word.
That's cool, man. Yeah, no, well, thanks to you, To. I know that you've left everybody's mics open, so they'll probably just give us a load of abuse before we go offline. But listen, I've just echoing what Tony said, I think it's great. It's good to see some familiar faces as well. Great that you've got involved. I thought Ash was brilliant. It's a great idea by Tony. You know, it's just great, you know, having a little chat now and again.
That's fit.
Best picture of me.
That is fit.
My teeth are yelling.
Don't look anything like you, mate. What happened to you?
That was when I was good, mate. but no, you know, it's fantastic, and it's great to see everybody. And yeah, it's been a long time, this lockdown, isn't it? And I know that some of us have struggled before it, some of us will struggle after it, but we'll all be here to chat. So let's just make sure we spread the good word. And I love this. I love everyone's faces. I think what's affected me most, if I'm being selfish, is not seeing people and not being that. I'm quite a tactile person, and I love having the crack with people, and it's been a bit of a mechanical lifestyle for me, and I don't like it, I'll be honest. So this is fantastic. So thank you to everybody that's come along. Thank you to Tony. Thanks to Rob for that picture, and thanks for all your questions. But yeah, let's all crack on with our evenings. 8 o'clock on the dot. You guys have been fan-dabby-dozy.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks all. See you later.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.